Let's turn to the other top story this hour. 9 years on, the first verdict on a post-Godhra riots case that's being probed by the Supreme Court appointed Special Investigation Team, or the SIT. Now we're talking about the Sardarpura massacre of March 2002. A special Mehsana court today convicted 31 people. 42 of the 73 accused, though, have been acquitted. The quantum of sentence is being announced even as we speak. In fact, we are getting news coming in, breaking at this hour, that all 31 convicts have been sentenced to life imprisonment. That's the breaking news coming in this hour. 31 people convicted earlier this morning. The sentencing handed out that all 31 convicts have been given the life sentence. We'll go across to our correspondent Meghdut Sharon at that special Mehsana court and find out more details from him. Let's just tell you the background of this case. 33 people were burned to death during the communal violence that broke out after the Godhra carnage. In fact, in this particular locality of Sardarpura, those people who'd taken shelter in a house, about 40 to 45 of them were locked up and burnt alive. 33 died, most of them women and children. And 9 years since that day, this happened in the first week of March 2002 during the post-Godhra riots, and 9 years on, conviction coming in this case. It's the first case in which conviction has taken place. It's the first post-Godhra riots case that's being probed by the Special Investigation Team appointed by the Supreme Court. Bhupendra Chaubey, our National Bureau Chief, is with us on the phone line. Bhupen, life sentence for all those 31 convicted in the Sardarpura massacre case.
Yes, that's the latest that we're getting to hear from Ahmedabad, that the court there has decided to give life sentences to all these 31 individuals who had been convicted earlier in the day for their involvement in one of the worst instances of communal carnage. The Sardarpura massacre, you remember, Ananya, was one of the worst instances that we had seen during the 2002 post-Godhra riots. A lot has been written about it. Investigations were carried out. Names were thrown up of several people owing allegiance to the Sangh Parivar, two offshoots of VHP and Bajrang Dal. The court today has decided that in light of the evidence, the witnesses' statements, as well as the investigations which were carried out by the police, the best possible sentence that could have been handed out to these individuals was a life sentence. The judge perhaps also wants to send this message across that such acts of criminal intention cannot be tolerated in a civilized society.
Bhupendra, what does this mean for the other post-Godhra riots cases being investigated by the SIT? Because as we know, this is the first case in which a verdict is out.
Yes, you could argue that perhaps this will become some kind of a precedent, but the Sardarpura massacre was, as I said, was not just one of the worst instances of communal carnage, but it was also a case which was properly investigated, in which witnesses had come out to testify against the individuals, against the culprits. You can't say that in a similar fashion. For instance, say when it came to the Gulbarg Society massacre, which was also equally horrific, which also led to the killings of several individuals. In many parts of Gujarat, similar instances were seen, but the difference in Sardarpura and other cases was that in this particular case you had witnesses. In many other cases you do not have witnesses. I think that could be perhaps one distinction that could be made between life sentences being awarded to all these 31 accused here and the others involved in different cases.
All right, that's an important point Bhupendra Chaubey is making there. Also joining us from outside that special court is CNN IBN's Meghdut Sharon. Meghdut, what did the judge say while handing out these sentences to the 31 convicted, life imprisonment for them?
Ananya, these 31 who have been convicted under several sections of the IPC, including an unlawful assembly, including rioting, arson, using inflammable materials. But the most serious case, the charge was that of murder. All the 31 have been convicted for murder and have been awarded the life sentence. So that is the biggest development that has happened. Of course, there have been no death sentences awarded, and that is primarily because of the fact that the prosecution could not prove the conspiracy theory here in this. It was more of a spontaneous thing. That's what the court believed at the end.
Meghdut, any first reactions coming in from victims' families? Are they there at all over there? We believe that many of those who died among the 33 were women and children.
Yes, of course, 20 of the 33 people who died at Sardarpura were women and children. Of course, none of them present here at the court today. In fact, they're not even staying here in Mehsana district. They've relocated to a resettlement colony in neighboring Sabarkantha district. We've not got any of the victims here right now at the Mehsana court. But yes, family members of those who have been convicted are very much present here in the court premises, and we saw many of them sobbing when earlier their convictions were announced at around noon today.
Meghdut, of these 31 people who've been convicted and sentenced to life in prison, are there any political party members? We believe there were some BJP workers as well in that list of accused.
Yes, of course, Sarpanch, former Sarpanch of Sardarpura, all belonging to the BJP, were very much among those who had been arrested and also those among who have been convicted. One must remember that when the Gujarat police earlier investigated this case and filed a charge sheet in July 2002, none of these people figured in the list of accused at that time. But later on, when SIT did take over, 20 new arrests were made by the SIT, and a few BJP leaders, local taluka and district level BJP people were arrested and even convicted.
Right, Meghdut, just to take our viewers through the significance of this big news coming in, the Sardarpura verdict is the first post-Godhra case verdict that's been investigated by the special investigation team appointed by the Supreme Court.
Yes, of course, and victims have raised their concern about the way SIT was investigating this case in most of the 9 cases that SIT has taken up after the Supreme Court directed it to do so. But this particular judgment, in which 31 convictions have been secured, is definitely will come as a morale booster for those victims who are expecting judgments in similar other cases. 9 cases for which trial is almost ended and judgment is awaited. But of course, many victims do state that although the conspiracy angle could not be established yet, murder did happen. 33 people, 33 innocents were definitely killed, and there's a sense of discouragement among the victims that death sentence was not awarded to any of the 31 persons who have been convicted.
And you're saying that the death sentence was not awarded because the conspiracy angle could not be proved in court, because it was said that it was a spontaneous reaction from those people who went and burnt alive 33 residents of Sardarpura in Gujarat. Meghdut, what are the other 8 cases that the SIT is investigating? You're saying that all of them are nearing completion.
Of course, apart from this one case in which we've got a judgment, in post-Godhra cases that the SIT is investigating, there's of course Naroda Patia, Gulbarg, Naroda Gam, Kidyar, 2 cases in Ode, one in Dipada Darwaza. All these cases are at a very advanced stage of trial, and we should expect judgments to begin coming in most of these cases over the next 6 months or so.
And this is a fast-track court which was hearing this particular case?
No, special designated courts were set up under the monitoring of the Supreme Court, under the Gujarat High Court, and these judges were specially appointed after consulting various parties involved in these cases. So these are not fast-track cases, but these are special designated court cases to hear SIT investigated cases.
Meghdut, of all the people who'd been accused in this matter, that's about 73 accused, 41 or 42 have been let off today. On what grounds were those people acquitted?
Of the 41 who were acquitted, 42 rather, 31 the court found no evidence whatsoever against them. The remaining 11, of course, the court said that they would be given the benefit of the doubt because the prosecution could not to a very satisfactory level establish that they were either present there or that they played any role in actually setting the house and these people on fire.
Meghdut, I'm wondering if you've been able to speak to any of those victims' families. I don't even know if they're in court or whether they are in a position to speak about it, but do they feel a sense of closure today, 9 years down the line, that some justice has been done to them?
Victims' families, of course, are not present here at the Mehsana court, but we spoke to them yesterday, and they were expecting death sentence for most of those people who had been arrested in this case, 73 in all. But of course, if you ask them now, they would say that they're perhaps not quite satisfied, because all of these people who have been awarded life sentence would definitely approach a higher court to lessen their sentence to a large extent.
How long have these people, both the accused and those now convicted, been in jail?
When the Gujarat police first investigated this case, 55 arrests were made. When a site came over and took over investigation in 2008, it filed 3 subsequent charge sheets in which 20 new arrests were made. In these 20 new arrests, political persons also were present. So yes, in all 73 arrests, 55 of these arrests made prior to July 2002, but most of them were out on bail. And the SIT has made the remaining arrests between 2008 and now.
Meghdut, we were speaking to Bhupendra Chaubey, a National Bureau Chief, and he was saying that what set this particular Gujarat riot case apart was the fact that there were witnesses in this case, and that is possibly one of the biggest reasons why a conviction has been possible. Is that what is the only striking point about this case, the fact that there were witnesses?
Yes, there were witnesses, and the SIT also did examine several witnesses. But what the prosecution and the SIT did investigate this case, the prosecution could not establish is that one particular convict, person who is accused, set the house on fire, or one particular person, by naming him, they could not get eyewitness accounts of people by the name as to setting the house on fire or a person killing another person. So that they could not get. If that would have happened, possibly the prosecution could have secured a death sentence or 2 in this particular case.
Meghdut, just to take us through what had happened that day in March 2002, this is an incident that happened in Sardarpura, where those people who had taken shelter were locked up and burnt alive.
Yes, of course. This is the day just the next day to what happened in Godhra. The BJP had given a bandh across Gujarat. Now there was a person called Mahmood Bhai, in whose house most of the people of this particular locality in Sardarpura had assembled. In fact, Mahmood Bhai has given a statement to the police, to the SIT, saying that he did call the Sarpanch and other Patel leaders from the village for a peace meeting at 4 o'clock. He also told them that there is a possibility, and he feared that there could be a backlash by the majority community on the residents of Sardarpura. He did hold this meeting, but the Patels, of course, did not attend it. He's also given a statement to the SIT saying that he made several distress calls from his mobile, from his landline number, also from his friend's mobile, to the police during the night. This incident began at around 8 p.m. and lasted till about 3:30 p.m. the next day. That was on the 2nd of March 2002. And none of these calls, according to Mahmood Bhai, he of course expired in this. His family members did expire in this particular incident. None of these policemen did respond to this distress call. So that is one very important statement. But apart from that, there have not been particular statements from eyewitnesses saying that X, Y, and Z actually set the house on fire, or X, Y, and Z did actually have sharp-edged weapons by which they had attacked those victims there.